we can exchange those business cards and create those lasting connections. At this moment, colleagues, I'm going to call upon the New Development Bank. Mr. Munale Ratsoma is going to be their representative. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Honorable Premier, delegates, and all protocol observed. Let us try to demystify the whole concept of graveyard shift. I know we've had lunch, and usually people tend to struggle. I already saw a few people struggling earlier on at the back. My name is Munale Ratsoma. I am from the New Development Bank. Those of you who don't know who the New Development Bank might know the bank as the BRICS Bank. The BRICS Bank, by definition, having been established by South Africa, China, Russia, Brazil, and India. I think it's important that I share with you just the establishment of the bank so you understand where the importance of the bank having to do work, critical work in South Africa. So the bank was established through authorized capital of $100 billion US dollars, of which $50 billion was subscribed capital, and $10 billion of that was paid in capital. So this paid in capital was then paid into the bank as part of the establishment equitably across the member countries. So meaning that the 5 founding member countries each contributed $2 billion US dollars. So South Africa, out of its own capital, paid in $2 billion US dollars for the formation of the bank. So it's quite critical, therefore, that the bank finds good and ready projects in South Africa to invest resources into. So this BRICS formation and the bank itself is underpinned by very strong developing countries, which in total enjoy 33% of global GDP, I think to underpin the amount of trade strength that is there, and estimated that between 2022 and 2026, they will enjoy average growth of 4.7%. Again, underpinning strength, growing above the global average, and constituting 44% of global population. I think if that is not strength in numbers, then we will have to redefine strength in numbers. So I think that shows really how the shift in power in the world is tilting towards. The shareholding of the bank, I've indicated, that is equitable across the founding members, but we've also recently enjoyed new members who are now interested in joining the bank. We've welcomed Bangladesh, for instance. We've welcomed the UAE. Egypt is also in the process of joining the bank. Uruguay is joining. Saudi Arabia is also joining the bank. So the bank is fast expanding within the developing country space, and of course already showing strength in competing with the traditional institutions such as the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and those other similar MDBs. It's also very important that at this point I make a distinction that South Africa is not only a member or a shareholder in the New Development Bank. South Africa is also a shareholder in the World Bank. Is also a shareholder in the African Development Bank, having put in capital. So it is very important that as we look at having to mobilize resources for investment in infrastructure, we also look at those institutions. Because importantly in South Africa, when you mention the World Bank, it's almost as though you've uttered a swear word. Unfortunately, of course, South African money has been invested in the World Bank, and therefore in a forum like this, of course, in future, let us also make sure that we extend invitation to those institutions that are sitting with South African resources that need to be plowed into investment in infrastructure. If you have been following what is developing at COP27, At COP27, there has been a number of announcements of investments in South Africa on green energy and green projects across the board, from institutions such as the KFW, the AFD. All of those institutions are currently operating in South Africa and have resources that can be deployed into infrastructure investment. Then what has the bank done globally, and how have we fared as South Africa in relation to the NDB doing investments in infrastructure? As you can imagine, South Africa is by far the smallest country of all the BRICS, the BRICS members. So by that, you would expect, therefore, that as China is presenting numbers of projects to the bank for consideration of investment, and as India is providing numbers of infrastructure to South Africa, to the bank, South Africa might, by virtue of its size, end up lagging behind. But I'm very proud to tell you that thus far, with all the projects that have been approved by the bank, all 77 projects amounting for about $29 billion, 18% of those projects are in South Africa. 18% of that, quite a considerable amount. About $5.4 billion have been deployed to South African projects. And there are a number of partners in the room today, in fact, and I will share into details later on. Transnet, for instance, is a very big partner of the NDB. Sanral is a big partner of the NDB. The DBSA, a very big partner. So we have been very much hard at work in South Africa, and now we look to expand our reach beyond the traditional state-owned entities and intermediaries such as DBSA to find corporate financing in projects, and also to find non-recourse project finance on the ground. And it's good, I've seen a number of them already that are potential borrowers from the bank in the room here, and would definitely be taking the conversation forward. So what are we looking at strategically in the coming few years from a strategy of the bank? We are looking to expand, of course, our operations in local currency, and of course, because many of our projects at the local level require rand, local currency financing. Our strength thus far has been in USD, as I have been quoting numbers in US dollars. So local currency strength is what we are building on. In fact, we already have a number of projects that are in local currency, and we're looking to do more of those. Partnering with other MDBs are also what we are increasingly doing. So if the project is worth $100 million, then we bring in all the other MDBs to co-finance with us. The strength of the MDBs are that our resources are naturally much cheaper than the resources that you will get from commercial lenders. And also, we tend to give you finances that are much more longer term in tenure than you will get from commercial lenders. Commercial lenders, if they say 5 years, we're able to go with the life of the project and go 15 and 20 years and so forth. So it's quite important that then the province must look to harness and leverage on these institutions called the multilateral development banks. So I've already indicated how much the bank is doing in South Africa. At COP27, the bank has pledged $3 billion worth of resources for financing of climate-related projects over the next 3 to 5 years. I think sometimes when you talk about $3 billion, it seems quite small. If you convert into 18, multiple of 18, then you realize just how much the size of commitment that the bank is making in South Africa, over and above all the other projects that the bank is doing, is committing that much amount. And by the way, if you superimpose the 3 billion against the fact that a number of countries have together come and then pledged 8.5 billion, one bank is able to pledge 3 billion. So just that shows you how aggressive the NDB is looking to do in South Africa. So what is offered in the South African office, which is based in Johannesburg, and many of you should leverage on, is that we help in project preparation. We have resources for project preparation. A big weakness in the market is that the lack and shortage of project preparation. And we see this across when we are trying to interact with municipalities, when we are trying to interact with project sponsors. Generally, they lack resources when it comes to project preparation. It is estimated as that for project preparation, you need to have at least 10% of the total value of the project you want to invest. And at the moment, project preparation resources are coming far short of 1%. So it is very, very important that we look to strengthen this, and the bank is also doing its bit in making available project preparation resources. What products do we offer as the institution? We have thus far built our strength on lending to sovereign and state-owned entities with guarantees, and also what we call national financial intermediaries in the IDCs and DBSAs. In fact, with those two institutions, many of the investment that we have done in renewables across the country are showing up under the portfolios of both IDC and DBSA. But we want to break that dependencies. We want to find projects naturally ourselves and start financing directly. Because with every intermediation, it means then if I give resources to a DBSA, the DBSA will add their own margin to own land to a project. And that, therefore, making the project unnaturally expensive to implement. Even with that considered, we tend to come out much cheaper than many other institutions. Subnationals, I see pressure coming from behind. Subnationals, municipalities, that's where we're looking to also be very active in helping with investment in infrastructure, deployment of infrastructure. The key thing here, and many municipalities don't want to work with institutions like ourselves because we handhold. So we watch what you do every day, what you eat, where you sleep, how you wake up, how healthy you are. So that in itself brings about some fiduciary oversight on projects. But those who have got intentions unbecoming don't like working with institutions like MDBs. But this is our strength, that we handhold and we work with you to make sure your project is properly prepared, properly implemented, properly monitored until even the end of the financing cycle. We can begin to skip quite a few then, because there's a shadow behind me. Yeah. So on the detailed list of projects that have been approved thus far, the $5.4 billion or so, cutting across ESCOM, cutting across IDC, TCTA on water project. I have had the name of the Eastern Cape project, water project called Umzumvumbu being mentioned. I think that's what that one. This is one project that the bank has been very much interested in, and I had the Premier earlier on saying that it will be done next year. We most certainly would likely to come through as one of the financiers on the project. So with Transnet, we probably have now in negotiations on a total of about 20 billion rands worth of financing for Transnet project. I'm very well aware that the team is working on financing the upgrade of the Sishen line to Ngquraa, and also the automotive line coming all the way to Johannesburg, coming into Ngquraa. So the bank has been very active. You may not have seen us. We don't go around bragging and making unnecessary noise. We've been in operation, and the capital has been deployed in projects. SANRAL, of course, is a very big partner. We have close to about 25 billion rands worth of projects at different stages of negotiations and discussions. So the bank is hard at work. The bank is open for business, and I am very hopeful that this is not my last visit to the Eastern Cape. I've already indicated that I want to come back here so we can have a discussion at a much more micro level, looking at various projects, corporate financing opportunities and project financing opportunities. And within a very short space of time, I will be coming back for sure. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ratsoma. I'm sure Premier wants to tighten lo mcimbi waseMzimvubu so that really we see it coming into fruition. But I like what Mr. Ratsoma is saying, that he's the kind of big brother you would like to partner with, Mayor. So get closer. I think when he comes back to the province, we'll certainly create that space so that they interact with all the relevant players across the Eastern Cape. So we move with our program to our next presentation. And at this moment, we'll call upon one of the players in the East London IDZ, Bushveld, who has been one of the companies investing in the East London IDZ, and they've been doing quite a lot of work in the Eastern Cape province. And on their behalf, Mr. Madonsela will now take the stage. Over to you, sir.
Molweni. Ninjani. Ngiyaphila. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Abel Madonsela. I'm the corporate affairs head for Bushveld, based in Johannesburg. I actually have just joined the company, started on the 1st of November. So if I don't elaborate more on some of the issues, I'm still on the learning path as well. So just to give you a brief background, Bushveld Minerals has two components on it. We have a mining company, we mine vanadium. We also have what we call Bushveld Energy, a company or a plant that has just recently, we are actually currently building it here at, in the IDZ, together with our corporate partners. As we speak, we are currently interviewing people because the aim is to start revamping the process part of the business in January. Like I said, I'm Abel Madonsela. The company is based here at the IDZ. We are going to be producing electrolyte. So electrolyte is the stuff that goes into batteries. And seeing that renewable energy is going to be a big player or a big part of our country, but also not in South Africa, but in the world as it is. So the aim is to produce 8 million liters of electrolyte per year. Will that be achievable? We believe so, as Bushveld, together with our partner. Why Eastern Cape? That's the first question that I also ask. Why Eastern Cape? Because we have a mine in Brits, which is in the northwest. We have a processing plant, which is in Mpumalanga, Wheatbank. Why Eastern Cape? We believe that the IDZ provides an ideal space for us to start with this plant, the land that is available, the building, the infrastructure that is available for us, the ports, because we will be exporting our product out. The other part that I want to touch is why electrolyte? A lot of mining companies mine minerals, export it to foreign countries, they beneficiate it, they send it back to us, and we buy it at a very expensive price. So we're seeing this electrolyte as a good part of us as a mining company to beneficiate our minerals, hence our involvement into electrolytes. Why IDZ? Especially the Eastern Cape one. There's a lot of IDZs that are out there in different provinces. Like I said, When we look at it, we find that this is a well-run IDZ for ourselves, but it also provides VAT and custom relief for our customers. Employment tax incentives is part of the IDZ beneficiation. Building allowances is part of the beneficiation that we are getting from the Eastern Cape IDZ. Reduction in corporate tax as part of the beneficiation that we looked at. Like I said, we are also very close to the airport. We are also very close to the ports to move our product overseas. The question is, how many people have we employed to date? 0 to date. We've just started building the plant in 2021. We are currently interviewing people who will be working in them. The plan is that plus minus 50 to 60 people will be employed when the plant is run at full scale. And the plan is that we'll double up the plant as the years progress within the IDZ itself. There are other numbers of people that will be benefiting from an employment perspective indirectly. We are looking at about 147 people that will be benefiting from the IDZ electrolyte as we scale up the production. What is it that we need to ask from our government? I'm looking at the Premier. It will help if the government can reduce the load shedding so that we have a continuous production. And that itself, I think, will then bring other potential investors to come and invest and actually place their product or their companies within the Eastern Cape IDZ. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Madonsela. In fact, I think what he's saying as he exits the podium reminds me that we at least have been spared of load shedding for the whole day. We've had our lights on. So let's thank Eskom for keeping our lights on today. So we are going to move quite quickly as we are in the last stretch. I did say that we're in the last segment of our program, and we'll invite on stage one of the leading companies in terms of the automotive sector across the globe. For decades, this company has chosen the Eastern Cape as their home, and their contribution has been spanning beyond the sleek vehicles that they produce, but to creating sustainable livelihoods in many of the Eastern Cape's households. So I will ask the technical team to assist us with the message from Mercedes-Benz of South Africa. Oh, I am told that the CEO is in the room, or a representative from MBSA. We will hand over to him. Yes, it is the CEO. Mr. Brand, do take the stage. Thank you.
Ek is 'n pa,
Ana akhun,
a sister,
a provider.
ngumsebenzi kodwa ndingaphezulu koko.
Ich erschaffe Dinge und ich leiste meinen Mehrwert.
I'm someone who eats salam every morning with a mission.
I am the hands that make these hands.
meestal kiderken.
Not just believing in what I do, but why I do.
Because when I do my job, it isn't just to do my job.
It is to show who I am. It is to show what I'm made of.
And not just be able to say, I feel the spirit.
But I am the spirit.
I am the pride.
I am the excitement.
I am part of the team, as much as the team is part of me. To look at what someone next to me has done and say, great job.
And make him proud by what I do.
Because it isn't just about what I am, it's about what we are.
We are the ones who make it happen.
We are the ones
That make it happen. We are the ones who believe excellence is the only option.
We are the ones who carry the legacy of the last 60 years.
And the future of the C-class is in our hands.
We are not what you expect. We are determined like no one else.
Because it's come from somewhere deeper than some can ever know.
We aren't colleagues, we family.
We are there for each other on the same journey. Knowing what we do doesn't just put cars on the road or food on the table, but hope in our community and trust in our country.
Believe in the limitlessness of what we can achieve.
And readiness for the next 7 years.
7 years earned.
For what the world knows, we are.
We are the answers.
To the challenges of tomorrow.
Not just the ones we see.
But the ones that come without warning. And when times change,
We are the change.
As we've always been, driven as one to say.
I am, we are, Yeyetu.
I'm part of that family. Dear Honorable Premier of the Eastern Cape, Honorable MECs, heads of departments, CEOs of companies, ladies and gentlemen, Molweni. This is an emotional video. You have to excuse me for a second. Very often I'm sitting in meetings, and at the end of the meeting, we find out that we have been talking not about the same. Probably it's only Mercedes. I doubt in your environments it's completely different. So by saying so, I would like to frame where I am currently and what I think what our challenges are. Because the question that is in the room is about investments and growth. One big element is the global crisis we're coming from. We may like it, we may not. The last 2 years were the most challenging times that I've been in. I've been in the industry for 25 years. First step was COVID, going around the globe 5 times, and the world keeps on developing answers so the impact on the communities is improving. So COVID was a terrible situation for the whole globe, and it is still rotating around the globe. The second element was the semiconductor crisis. Maybe that's an automotive element, but that hurted us a lot, significantly. 2 questions. Was that predictable? No. Some people say, I would say no. The third element is, when you look at the globe at the moment, you will see a lot of hotspots all around. All around. We can start in the US, we can go to South America, we can go to China, Russia, and Europe. Wherever we go, there are hotspots. Each and every of those hotspots can cause the same impact that COVID and semiconductor had. Is it predictable? Not at all. What is your answer, or our answer? We have to be resilient of what's to come. Second element, besides the global challenge, are our local challenges. And I can start with myself. We have to do our homework. We have to do our homework. From an infrastructure point of view, and I heard that just a couple of seconds before, and I can only emphasize this is a topic that we have to solve. We as one team. Both aspects, the global and the local, will have an impact on our country, on our communities, and on our business. And if we are that honest to say it like that, then we can start acting towards common goals. And that's why I want me to share that picture with you. When we are coming to the situation with Mercedes-Benz South Africa, people start to forget that we announced an investment of 13 billion rand into this factory which is sitting at the West Bank. 13 billion rand. And we delivered. It's sitting there. It's installed. A high portion of the equipment was sourced globally but subcontracted locally. We brought suppliers or gave the existing suppliers a future. We invested heavily into the sustainability aspect. I come to that just now. And we keep on investing in our education. I had the pleasure to meet you, Premier, at the 40+1 Mercedes-Benz Learning Academy, which we really appreciated that you were our guest. In a nutshell, we have equipment installed, we have supplier localized, we invest in sustainability, we are in the process of getting 2 megawatts of photovoltaic on our roofs, and we invest in our education of our people. 13 billion. What was it? It's about legacy, that was part of the video. It's about reliability, and it's about commitment. And I think to a certain or to a large extent, we stick to what we said. Very simple, I love simple pictures because that's the way I think, very, very simple. It's all about the interaction between Mercedes-Benz and our stakeholders in 3 fundamental aspects. One is we have to perform today. We have to perform today. Secondly, we need now to address the topics that we need for tomorrow, and from that is what I call the MBSA Beyond is being derived from. But before we come to the third step, we have to deliver today and tomorrow. By saying so, what did we support with? And I can only emphasize we have a world-class facility sitting on the West Bank. We have a supplier landscape which is somehow localized in the IDZ and beyond. We achieved significant improvement on the BBBEE ranking of the company. We are now on level 2, which is, as far as I know, AB the second best in the OEMs with other colleagues on the same level. And we keep on investing on the educational end. We have high voltage trainings, and we have technology trainings, which is absolutely world-class. And this is not because we say that, because we have that as a feedback from global experts. So what do we need from our stakeholders? We need reliability in terms of cooperation. We need predictability of what we say is what we do. And we need to agree on certain steps that need to happen now, for instance, on infrastructure and commitments that now has to be decided so we can be a reliable partnership between Mercedes and our stakeholders. What is the requirement for us? We have to commit to a plan. We have to commit to a way. And I encourage our partners to do the same so we stay that company stakeholder cooperation that we have been in the last 65 years for the next 65 years. Will it be easy? Probably not. We are in a worldwide competition. We will achieve that as one team, as one family, as one corporation. And I truly encourage us all to support that, because I think Mercedes-Benz and the family that you just saw is worth it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Premier, I think since this morning we've been talking investment. And I think one of the things that Mr. Brent has managed to remind us of is the fact that the companies and organizations that we lead are made up of people. And as leaders in this room, I think we must do all we can to build the resilience that he was referring to, because the resilience of the companies that are led by this collective in this room will only happen if our people are being supported to achieve it. So as we are nearing the end of this conference, I think it's important for us to reflect on that. And the resilience is going to be important for us to build it so that we can be able to face this volatile future that he was talking about. More often than not, these days, we hear every time when we're talking about building companies, it's people, it's the planet, and it's the profit. So let's remember that as one of the key takeouts of this conference. So at this moment, I think it's important that we note that with the growth of the automotive sector across the globe and in the Eastern Cape in particular, it has given birth to many companies that are producing the various components that are required for the manufacturing of these very vehicles. So from wheels and assemblers, I would like to welcome on stage Dr. Johan Olivier. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Premier, distinguished guest. It's really an honor for me to be here to give you a little bit of background on wheel assemblers and what we're currently doing within the East London IDZ. We're a tier 1 supplier, just to give you a bit of background, directly to Mercedes South Africa. And that's one of the main reasons why we're here, is because of Mercedes being in South Africa. Can we start a presentation, please? Okay. It seems like there's some problem on the presentation, but maybe to give a little bit of background further. So we know in South Africa that it's not very easy for South African companies to get into the world market and to start being an international supplier. Wheel Assemblers started in 2003. I used to do some work for government. We went all around the world, and we saw opportunity in tire and wheel assembly specifically. Many of the suppliers in that stage, even Mercedes, Ford Motor Company, BMW, still did all the assembly very manual. So it was a manual process, similar like a Tiger and wheel process that was used. And we saw that there was a need for good quality, repeatability, and we said, well, we need to invest and see if we can convince the motor industry in South Africa to invest in automotive equipment so that we can start doing it. So in 2007, after doing a lot of research, Ford Motor Company gave us a break. They gave us opportunity to start manufacturing for them. It was still a very manual process with a little bit of automation. We used the information and knowledge we had, we worked with Ford, and then we started with a fully automated line in 2011. From 2011 onwards, the company grew quite a bit. We were successful in obtaining contracts from BMW South Africa. And to tell you, it's not easy to get those type of contracts if you're a small company in South Africa. The banks want everything from you. It's like taking everything you have and going to a cash converters and say to them, keep everything, give me a few rand to start up a new business. So we started a business in 2015. We invested quite a bit of money into that. We bought some automated equipment, secondhand for the first round from BMW in Germany. They assisted us as well with some technical help, and we started the first business. From there on, the company grew further. We were successful in obtaining a contract from Mercedes. We started in July 2021. This was our first full investment in new equipment. Mercedes went all the way to support us for that. I think it's a long-term type of investment that they were looking at, because usually it's not just for one model, and we hope that if we keep on providing the good quality and good service that we currently do in the industry, that we will be able to obtain the next models and next levels well. Our company is very flat-structured company. It's a very simple company. Myself and a partner started it, like I said, in 2003. We managed to get additional investment, to get a BE investor in, to buy 51% share in our company, and we're currently at a level 2 on a BE level. That's one of the requirements within industry. I think minimum level now currently is level 4, and we're currently at level 2, assisting the suppliers and the manufacturers also on their BE ratings and scorecards. So what we currently have is we have a plant in Roslyn supplying BMW. We have additional business that we just received from BMW. We also started supplying the spoiler as a plastic part for BMW. We have a plant in Silverton, and then our brand new plant here in East London for Mercedes-Benz. I actually would have liked to show you some of the pictures that we have. I think the successful... Sorry.
They just need to catch up with your slide. They've got the project.
Oh, they got a project going. Okay, excellent. There we go. Okay, so there you can see some of our operations. The operations is about 6,000 square meters in total per plant. And you can see some of the equipment and everything that's in there. So what we decided as a company is when we started off with a very manual process, and we were introduced to all the electronics and all the nice things around technology, we decided we're going to follow a technology route, because with technology we can also apply good quality, which is essential. If you don't have good quality, good service, you won't be able to make it in the motor industry at all. So we invested heavily into new equipment and the best that is currently on the market. So just to show you a little bit of the process, so basically what we do is we source a lot of the product, we source the tires, the rims, we bring in valves, all the equipment, everything that we need to do the assembly. We assemble it, we supply it in a sequence to Mercedes. So we provide an end-to-end service, so from the sourcing portions right through to the assembly, making sure the quality is 100% and correct, and supplying it up to the point of fitment within the Mercedes plant in South Africa. And that's one of the reasons, I think, why we're successful in getting business, is because there's no in-betweens or slip areas. So we take responsibility for everything, for all the quality, and there's nobody else to blame but wheel assemblers for providing any of this product that we currently supply. I think that's also one of the reasons why we started getting additional business now from BMW, in the sense that we're starting supplying spoilers. There's a lot of opportunity in the motor industry, but it's not as easy as you think. When we started off, we thought it was easy, and I think if I look back and I knew what I know today, I most probably wouldn't have started it, because it was quite a bit of work to get where we are. We've got international partners on the technology side. A lot of South African banks are supporting us as well. It's critically important on the technology side to know what you're doing. All our technicians, everybody is local South Africans. They're all trained in the equipment. And I think that's also one of our success points. So if we have any breakdowns or any changes, we can fix it. We've also started with some of the equipment that we manufacture locally. We worked with a company called S4 Integration. So the packaging robots that you've seen on the first portion of the video, that's something that we've designed, developed here. The racking systems that we use is locally developed systems. That's all been done between wheel assemblers and our technical partners. So we also started investing quite a bit in research and development. You can see just on product, we get our products, a lot of it comes from Europe. Some of the product comes from China, but we import, source all over the world to bring in different products. And I think within those products, there's also maybe some opportunity for localization later on. The only issue in South Africa is that we're a very small percentage of the world market. So it's not just bring it in here, but also to get it to the quality standards and requirements to supply the OEMs across the globe. So the question why we're here, like we said in the beginning, we're here mainly because of Mercedes and possible opportunities with VW South Africa. I think due to the supply requirements that we have for supplying just in time and just in sequence to the lines, we need to be within a very short distance. The East London IDZ is ideally located and situated very close to Mercedes, making it possible for us to deliver. And if there are any changes in sequence or any additional requirements, it's very easy to fulfill those requirements being so close to the line. I think one of the important things from the IDZ, which was one of the great benefits that we managed, was we managed to purchase the land as well as the property from the IDZ. Now, a South African company, it's difficult to obtain funding and finance. So what we do is we purchase our property and we use that again as leverage to obtain finance and to provide us surety going forward. At least with the company growing and at least with our reputation growing in the industry, it's also now becoming a little bit easier to get money and to get funding. We hope that the investments that we do, and we've seen it now, we've just secured the next investment from BMW till 2034. Because of the equipment that we invested and because of the way that we do our costing, that we will be successful as well to secure and stay here for a long term and do business with Mercedes from the IDZ in South Africa. I think the important thing and where we need money and where it's not as easy to get is to investigate new opportunities, new projects, to do the research and development and to see what other opportunities might become available. It's resource intensive to do that. It's not easy to get the right people on board. Most of these type of industries, you need to go into joint ventures because all the intellect sits within big manufacturers worldwide, and it's not just something that you can just create by yourself overnight. I suppose you can do a lot of it, but it'll cost you billions of rands to catch up to technology. But to be able to structure these, that's where there's a big gap. And if there's opportunity to bridge that gap, that will make a major difference to investors in South Africa. Currently, everybody that works for us is local, all South Africans. We've created 86 new jobs. I think within the company, we've got about 209 people working for us. So you can see it's still a fairly small business and a small company. We handle about 20 million rand of stock on a daily basis between the different branches and different companies. So that's Wheel Assemblers. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johan, for the continued support to really the program of building the Eastern Cape that we want. So we'll move first, delegates, to our next presentation, and I promise you we have just two presentations towards the closure of our program today. So we will now call upon a company that is in the renewable energy space, Seraphim on stage, and Gerald or Herald will be the representative to speak on behalf of the company. Over to you.
Okay, let's go work. Good afternoon. Thank you, Program Director. Good afternoon to the Honorable Premier, Mr. Oscar. All CEOs, all MECs, HODs, delegates, we greet you this afternoon. I'm going to try and be quick to go through the presentation. We only have 10 minutes. We've invested in a 300 megawatt PV solar module manufacturing facility in the East London IDZ. We took occupation in November 2021, and we've successfully gone into production in July this year. So we're part of a global group called Jiangsu Seraphim. Globally, we have installed capacity of 8.5 gigawatt of manufacturing capacity. We've so far delivered more than 14 gigawatt of PV solar modules globally to over 40 countries. We've got our own R&D center. We are a tier 1 manufacturer by Bloomberg NEF. Our East London facility is got a 300 megawatt facility. Okay, so basically, when we produce PV solar modules, we have a completely automated system by nature of the product, so that we touch and handle it as little as possible. We've got stringers, which does the cells, laminators, important for the curing process, the conveyors, and then automatic framing as well. In East London, we're producing an M6 product, which is a 166 millimeter cell. So the output capacity of our panel in East London that we manufacture is 450 watt panels. So that's a simple demonstration of the manufacturing process. We go through the cell sorting, automatic soldering, automatic layout, lamination, framing, curing, until we go through to packaging. And building a PV module is quite simple. It's like making a snack of a sandwich. So those are your different key components which you have: a glass, EVA, the cell which is encapsulated between the backsheet and the glass, or between glass and glass, and then you have a frame and a junction box. I'm not going to go through the detailed manufacturing process. I don't think we want to be experts in producing PV modules after this. I think the economic impact of our investment, it's important to stress that this afternoon. We've invested 110 million in plant and equipment. We're employing 185 people, and we'd like to believe it's well-paid jobs. Local purchasing per annum in the Buffalo City metropolitan will amount roughly to 338 million rand. Community social investment projects are underway. We believe that our product lends itself to skills development of young people, and there's lots of SMME opportunities due to the current Eskom situation. The key market drivers in South Africa, obviously, is the utility scale market, which is the IPPs, the people who are trying to take the base load off Eskom to try and bring new energy into the grid. Embedded generation, we know that the government has done embedded generation. They've increased from 1 megawatt to 100 megawatt without licensing. Still have to inform NERSA of that. And then there's the distribution network for typical rooftop projects, which we believe is also quite big. The government policy is extremely favorable in terms of producing locally with the designation rules of buying 35% locally. And so we believe in the RE program, there's huge opportunity for us to supply, and also into C&I projects, which is commercial and industrial. Mercedes mentioned they're currently installing 2 megawatt rooftop, and that's to, I think, to reduce the base load. So utility scale at the moment in South Africa, from what we know, is under the risk mitigation and IPP programs, is currently sitting at 3.7 gigawatt of projects under development, and of that, 2.7 gigawatt has been allocated to IPPs already. Embedded generation, through our investigation, sits at 2 gigawatt. The distribution network per annum does roughly 250 megawatt. Residential and smaller rooftop projects sitting at roughly 50 megawatt per annum. So the overall market demand is quite favorable. What we do see, and this is where I think government can really help a lot, because no company can build a sustainable business model with the amount of uncertainty in the IPP program. We've seen that round 5 has been postponed multiple times, round 6, and the submission for bid window 7, we've already been informed it's being postponed. The challenges and issues that we have in the industry in South Africa is obviously the non-commitment of IPPs. Although they've got preferential bidder status, financial close extensions, not industrializing the IPPs, non-enforcement by, I believe, the DMRE, our friend Mr. Mantashe. He's also a son of the soil, as we know from the Eastern Cape. The SA lending institutions are quite hesitant on bankability to I think, support IPPs for local procurement. And then often customers working with multinationals require payment terms in line with their drawdowns schedules. Our business is extremely cash incentive. I've heard that Wheel Assembly is doing roughly 20 million per day. When we look at our full pipeline of working capital, we're sitting at 230 million rand in working capital. And for a small company like ours, it's quite substantial. Obviously, low protection of local manufacturing. What we know is that completely built up modules doesn't attract duty, whereas our raw material does attract duty. So if you want to create a sustainable business in South Africa, I think it's important that we reverse the duty cycle to put duty on imported modules and make the raw material duty-free, or at least see what equivalent can be done. We're extremely happy to compete. High working capital, I've mentioned, it's roughly 230 million. It's quite a lot of money for all of us. And then obviously, because we mainly buy in currency, our forex exposure is something that we need to look at, so hedging cost as well. And because of the high capital cost, we've also decided to invest in the cell manufacturing locally. So in the Kucha IDZ, our factory is completed for the PV cell manufacturing. So we'll bring in the wafers from China, and we'll treat the wafer here to become a semiconductor in PE. It's the first of its kind on the continent. We're looking at going into production in quarter 1, quarter 2 in 2023. We're busy with tenant installation. That's almost 90% completed. So I think with all of this done, when the vertical integration is completely completed, we will take more than 110 million rand out of our working capital through the PE investment in the Kucha IDZ. That's all that I have. Thank you very much.
you so much. So I am glad that I stood up right at the right time. Yeah, as I promised that we had about 2 presentations that we wanted to take. Right about now, I want us to move to our last presenter in this category, and to remind you, we said that as we began this segment, we said that we are celebrating the investments or companies that have been investing in the Eastern Cape since the beginning of this 6th term of administration. So at this moment, I'll call upon Mr. Andri Bok to speak on behalf of Kingfisher Enterprise.
Kingfisher Enterprise is a land-based marine fish farm that uses recirculating aquaculture systems to control the production of its fish from egg all the way to harvest size. We control the entire production process. Our broodstock spawn under controlled conditions. We grow the algae, we grow the zooplankton to feed the larvae, we hatch out the eggs, and we raise them up to a size where they're big enough to feed on dry food, and we feed them on that dry food all the way through until market size. The recirculating aquaculture system uses live bacteria, probiotic bacteria, to treat any waste that comes from the fish. We have to look after the biofilter just as much as we look after the fish. So no hormones or antibiotics that go into the live holding or production system. Because we're a land-based farm, we're able to control the entire harvest process. The fish come out of the tanks and straight into ice slurry where they're chilled, and we work closely with our customers to ensure the quality of the product always meets their high standards. I must say I'm exceptionally proud of every single fish that comes out of this farm, and I'm always happy to share it with my friends and family because it represents a career invested in the environmentally sustainable production of marine fish in South Africa. Good afternoon. Honourable Premier, Premier's Office, Buffalo City Municipality officials, and our esteemed delegates. It really is an honour for me to be here today to present to you. I am but a humble farmer. But I think that what I have to say is exciting for the Eastern Cape and for those and for new opportunities in the Eastern Cape. So why aquaculture? I think that you may know that our marine resources internationally are overexploited. The fishing industry has basically decimated natural resources, fishery resources, and the only alternative to providing product to the market is to farm it. And one of the high-value products to supply that market is marine fish. At Kingfisher Enterprises, we're producing 2 species of marine fish, Cape Yellowtail and Dusky Cob. Those are the 2 on the bottom of the slide, the first slide there. I think it's important to mention that we are not a fishing company. We don't exploit natural resources. We make something out of nothing. We are a manufacturing business. We pay for all our inputs, we pay rates, we pay electricity to manufacture this product. So I think it's just important for you to understand that we are not a fishing company. We produce a high-value product. At the moment, the demand for our product is exceeding supply. We supply into Woolworths and the high-value retail, high-value restaurant trade in South Africa. So it's a high-value product. And to date, we've been in the market for just over a year, and to date, our market acceptance has been flawless. We have a high-value product that we are supplying into the local market, and our product also has export potential internationally. We also, one of the spin-offs of our business, Kingfish, is that we have an oyster hatchery. And this oyster hatchery, we have an arrangement with the Siyazama community in Hamburg. And the oysters from our hatchery go into a nursery. We're at the very early stages of establishing this nursery, where the oysters are grown from 2 millimeters up to about 5 grams. And then from there, they're sold into the oyster farming industry. And Zwembezi, or the Knysna Oyster Company, is one of our key customers that we're planning to supply. So instead of them buying in the seed from importing the oyster seed into South Africa to sustain their business, we will be supplying the seed to them, and at the same time creating jobs and opportunities for the Siyazama community in Hamburg. And to date, we've invested approximately 56 million rand. 47.5 million rand of that is private capital from high net wealth individuals. We don't have an institutional investor yet. And the remaining funds has come from the Aquaculture Development and Enhancement Program run by the Department of Trade and Industry. Thank you.
And that project is in the East London IDZ, I have to say that. And I must say that that's one resilient guy. He has done a lot of research in this field, and he keeps standing. So another round of applause for Mr. Andre Bock. Anchored in the East London IDZ and making impact as far out as Hamburg. We have now done the first, or the final set of celebration of investment projects that have been announced. And now, everyone that's sitting in this house has got a new mandate. And I think government has got a mandate to advocate and lobby for a conducive environment. I think today was about getting to understand exactly what investors want. Because everyone who in this province has not believed that there has been strides made in terms of or as far as investment promotion is concerned. I'm sure that today, after having seen the type of businesses that we've got in this province, you have become an ambassador of investment in this province. Because everyone in this room understands that as this province, we continue to have a compelling investment location. The rest really is up to us. And I think the 2-minute video that is now going to be played is just going to sum up the reason and the motivation why we, as the Eastern Cape, are called a province that is open for investment. I'm going to ask that we play that video, and I'm not going to stand in front of you again, but as the video plays, I'm going to ask the MEC for Economic Development and Environmental Affairs and Tourism to come up and do the last reflections for us in terms of our program. You've been a great audience. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this conference was organized to provide you, our investors, the platform to showcase the work that you are doing in the province, the opportunities you are creating, and the development you are leading in your respective sectors. The investment commitments announced and projects in implementation that have been presented during the course of this conference have translated into 171.45 billion rand in investment inflows and in the creation of 21,664 direct job opportunities in the province from 2019 to date. Investment is a key lever for driving sustainable economic development. Through partnerships, we drive meaningful development in the Eastern Cape, the home of legends. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference was organized to provide you, our investors, the platform to showcase the work that you are doing.
Thank you
in the
very
province,
much,
the
Program
opportunities
Director. Greetings to the Honorable Premier, Honorable MECs present here, Honorable Mayors that are here, councillors, chairpersons of entities, CEOs, chairpersons of business chambers present here today and all protocol observed. I was wondering, Honorable Premier, whether she should not have been given the task of closing this conference, because seemingly before I stood up, she did that, exactly that. Today's event marks an important milestone in our march towards building an inclusive and growing economy that creates jobs and secures livelihoods for all. I'm sure that we can all agree that today's event was a success, and it is much welcomed in the province, especially post-COVID-19. With an announcement of 11 new investments totaling 46.5 billion rand, the conference has been a resounding success and a mark of confidence by our investors. We have heard from our investors who are putting their precious resources across the length and breadth of this province. I've had a discussion outside here with two mayors, Honorable Premier. I'm not going to say what they said, but expressing that to a larger extent, they're just accompanying Nelson Mandela Bay and BCMM. But if you look at the investors that is announced by the Premier, they cut across the province. So no part of this province is untouched. We had that discussion with the Premier and the message he said I must give you. One was a message. The Premier tells me and I pass it to you. That mayors must realize that investor attraction is not the sole mandate of the province as led by ECTC. It is also the responsibility of local government to create a conducive environment for economic development, and secondly, to attract investors. So as you note that your area is not covered, we want to know how far have you gone in creating that environment and also attracting investment. Yakalana ndibanga amazwi wami ngomyalezo ndinikwe nguPremier wandinikazela. Today's announcements marks it's a mark of confidence which is not based on blind loyalty. It is based on the appreciation of a compelling value proposition the Eastern Cape economy presents. As aptly stated by the Honorable Premier in his opening address to this occasion, the sixth administration, open quote, puts its mouth where its money is, to enable economic growth, close quote. That's why the 6th Provincial Administration has to date mobilized public investment to the tune of 22 billion rand. For instance, last year, the East London IDZ attracted 6 new investors with an investment of 954 million rand against a target of 500 million rand in the previous year. Even notable is the fact that the East London IDZ in the last year opened 12 new factories, and these are now operational and creating much needed economic activity in our province. So the companies that were operationalized have already invested private sector investment of 3.27 billion rand into plant and machinery, and these new investors have pledged to create 2,078 new jobs in the next 2 years, and have already started making a dent in the employment figures in the zone. So there are currently 42 investors operational in the IDZ, and another 2 being commissioned, and additional 6 new investors is targeted for the year. That's East London IDZ. If we go to Kucha, it has secured 13 investors in the last financial year in strategic sectors for our economy, with a total injection of about 557 million rand investment pledged, resulting in 868 operational jobs. So as we look to at ensuring we build on this success, the investment pipeline include the energy space, with gas projects being catalytic in ensuring that we can contribute to the 3,000 megawatts energy requirements of the country. In addition, the investors in the lithium battery manufacturing space are critical to cater to the requirement for energy storage and the transition to electric vehicles. So the Kucha SEZ is working with another OEM for tire recycling, and so make sure that we remain conscious of the need to ensure sustainability. So we emerge out of this conference with a renewed energy, renewed hope, and renewed focus. Every investor that spoke at this conference has confirmed the following about our province. 1, the Eastern Cape is ready, and its doors are open to every investor who wants to invest in the productive sectors of our economy. 2, the Eastern Cape emerges from the ravages of COVID-19 with a stronger and compelling proposition. The productive capability of the economy remains intact, and every investor can build on this capacity to realize their returns on investment. We showcased our competitiveness in key sectors and industries such as auto industry, renewable energy, oceans economy, infrastructure development, manufacturing, etc. We have an enabling policy and institutional framework to support investment. The address by both the Honorable President and the Honorable Premier bears testimony to the high-level political commitment to driving investment for growth. From this conference, it's all hands on deck. All of government machinery will be mobilized to follow through on what has emerged from this conference. We can assure you as investors that we will spare neither strength nor courage in taking forward these commitments to their logical conclusion. A growing economy that creates jobs and secures livelihood for everyone. As a provincial government, we wish to thank each and every investor for choosing the Eastern Cape as a destination for investment. And I wish to thank the Premier for his leadership on this huge project that will change the life of many in the Eastern Cape. And thank all the MECs, mayors, chairpersons of our entities in ensuring that we are realizing this dream together. Thank you very much to all of you that attended this conference, and hope to see you next year when we'll be giving you a feedback on the performance of all the investments commitments. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
And all that is left for us all to say is to steal from Mercedes-Benz and say, Yeyethu. It is our mandate. Yeyethu.
Thank you.